So in this demo, I'm going to show you how to use a method called chunking in order to easily build actions using the flowchart. Um, Flowcharts for conversations are very common. They're much easier to follow than things like spreadsheets or Word documents and so on. But when you're trying to translate this into an action, sometimes if you just follow the flow in one direction, it's very quickly to generate a complete mess in actions. Even if it works, it will be hard to maintain or follow, understand what's going on. So I'm going to show you how to convert this over into an action really easy. So what I've done here is I built this flowchart based off of the template in relation to autopay. So this is the autopay template that built into Watson Assistant. I'm going to rebuild from scratch, but I'm going to build it so that it flows better in relation to this flowchart. So let's just switch over to the chunking demo. It's a chunking demo. Okay, so let's go back to the flowchart. So I'm just going to explain how this is structured first. So blue boxes are where we have a user input. Yellow boxes are buttons that a user presses. And the triangles is a logical code that doesn't relate to anything that the user inputs. So there is logical code like in order on each of these things, but it's implied. So for example, like this one, if the user pressed one of these buttons, then this node fires. But you don't have to write all these if statements, if they press this or if they press that. It's much cleaner if you use this technique. So in order to chunk, what you need to do is you break it down into each section where the flow diverges. In other words, so for example, where you have buttons, if the buttons go off in different directions, then this piece is a chunk, this piece here. And then again, this piece here, you can see this all still is part of the same piece, and this is all started of the same piece. So all of this is one chunk. And then this one here, these all buttons go to the same place, they diverge here, so that's another, and so on. And I've built these chunks already. Let me just group and send it to the back so I can put it all down in one go. And we'll try and place it in as close as possible. I believe it's here. Yeah, that's close enough. Okay. So I zoom in, you can see the chunks now. It's a little bit easier. So once you have your chunks, you can start to see the logical flow a lot better. So obviously this is my first chunk, so I'm just gonna number one in there, and I'm just gonna make it a bit bigger. Okay, so you can see the one. Sorry. Now the next chunk, you may have gone this way, but if you look here, this chunk here goes off and then diverges back into here. So, there's a path that goes around this way. So this one is probably the best to run second, because then it will fall through to the third one, which is this one here. Sorry. Okay, we'll leave that there, I guess. And number 4, this one. Number 5 goes along logically. And then the last two, generally if one's got an end sequence and one hasn't, I would put this one last. So let's just make that number 6 and number 7. So at this point, we now know the steps in which we're going to build out our action. Okay, so if we go over to actions now, and I'm going to create a new one, set up autopay, and then we start with our first chunk. So you can see these asterisks here, that's marked down. Oh, I'm going to have it locked. Let me just unlock it first. Okay, so those asterisks will make bold text when it displays. And you can see here, the next step is email address. So regular expressions actually has an email address. So we can just do that. And the next step, it's asking for a date of birth. And again, this is a date one. And to make life a little bit easier, I'm going to give these some names as well. So this is actually the email address. And this one is, okay. Okay, thanks for the information. And I'm going to call this or actually no, maybe account options might be better. You'll see later. Okay, and this has got a couple of options, so I'm going to copy each one in. Okay, so we have that done. And so now you can see we could have gone this way or this way, but we're going to go with this chunk, a different account. Okay, so this piece of text here, we create a new step. We want to make sure that the button from account options is actually a different account. So you can see it's a much more easy to understand what's going on. And this one is account number. And I'm going to call it that for some, well, for a reason I'll explain later. Okay, and here again, they have an account number. We want to make a regular expression. And if we look at the account numbers, it's like a X with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. So in the regular expression, I can look for X, a digit, 7 times. And then we can test that. Okay, if I do X, okay, that's fine. Okay, so that's our account number, which is this piece here. Now you can see this validate account number. This could be a sub action. Normally when it has this kind of structure, it means that it's going to call off to something. It could be a sub action or it could be an extension. For the demo, this is just going to be the normal validation that's in the regular expressions. So, you know, if it's valid, it's fine. If not, we're going to send this message. So here we can go to the validation settings. Okay. And again, you know, if it gets it wrong 3 times, the validation will automatically redirect to an agent. So I'm gonna ignore this piece. We'll just say it's there already. Okay, and then you can see if it's valid, it drops to stage 3. Now, because all of these buttons end up here and this button ends up here, you don't need to put a conditional statement on this. So I can just say new step because it's going to fall through to this. How often do you want to set up auto pay? And again, give it a name. Auto pay frequency. Oh, sorry, we'll say frequency options because just again, it will make more sense later on. And here we go. Every week. Actually, I can see that there's no custom one here, so I'm going to change the name of this again. Every month. Oops. Every other month. And lastly, every 3 months. Okay, and I'm going to just say payment cycle. Okay, so that it makes sense later on. All right, so you can see these all go to the one block, so we don't need to do any conditional checking. Again, we can just fall through. And it's saying, when do you want the order pay to start? So I'm going to call this start options. And it's going to be as soon as possible. Sorry, might as well cut and paste. And on a specific date, apply. Okay, so that's that chunk done. So as we move into the next chunk, you'll see that there's 2 entry points, but this one travels to this entry point. So we're going to start with this one. Okay. Okay, and then again, I'm going to call this start date. And what date you want to do it? So this is going to be date according to this. Yeah. And then we will drop down to this one. And again, because they all go into the same point, we don't need to check for, if this button was pressed or this button was pressed. So for this one, there's 2 options, the whole bill. Custom amount. And again, I'll give this how much options, how much pay options. Okay. And that's that node finished. And again, we can see that it 2 entry points, but this entry point moves this direction. So we will do a new step. How much would you like to pay? And we'll make a number, and we'll call that total pay. Okay, and new step. Okay, actually amount to pay. I'll put that in. Okay, and then thank you for that information. So let's just go back to that previous one. Let's call it amount to pay. Just let's be consistent. Okay, thank you for the information. And then it has this confirmation piece. So we're just gonna new step. I mean, it could be in both, but I guess we want to, yeah, well, let's just keep it separate for the moment. So this is where the fun starts. So you can see, like, we need to fill out account number, how often, start date, and so on. So what I'm going to do is for account number, oh, hang on. Okay, so you can see I'm filling out each of the fields. Frequency, isn't it? Let's go into the action steps. Payment cycle. Start date. And amount to pay. Now, the issue here is that, let's say, amount to pay is set to, or let's say, when do you want to start paying on as soon as possible? But I'm pulling the thing from the start date, so it won't pick up this button. So we need to add some logic to determine which value we should do. And what you can do here is using the expression editor. Well, just before I start, so let me explain something. When the step asks for information, it does a validation check for a date. However, you can write to this step, but there will be no validation. So I can overwrite the date with as soon as possible, for example. So let's just go up to account number and have a quick look. So you can see I have account options and I have account number. So what I can do is, if I go to action step, account number equals, and now I'm going to do a logic check. So what that is again, account number, and then question mark. Let me just fill it out and then I can explain. Wise. So it might look a bit crazy, but what's happening here is I'm replacing the account number. So the first thing it checks to see, was there a value in account number? If it wasn't, if there was, it will put it in. So it stays the same. If it wasn't, then it will replace it with account options. Okay. So in other words, if I press one of these buttons, the value goes in here. if I press, another different account, then this value stays the same. So now I'm going to do the same for the other ones. So payment cycle equals payment cycle. And let's go to the action steps. So let me just check. Well, actually, payment cycle, I can see it stays the same. So let's just skip that one completely because it will always be the same. So start date equals start date. Sorry, if start date is blank, or if there's a value in start date, then we, keep the date. Otherwise, we'll take the button from the start options. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, and then amount to pay. So again, we'll do the same thing for amount to pay. So amount to pay equals, if amount to pay exists, then we will keep it the same. Otherwise, amount to pay, sorry, let's go down and have a look. Otherwise, we'll take number 8, which is how much pay options. Okay. And this method allows you then, maybe I want to add an extra button here. I don't have to change any code. The thing will automatically update. And let's go back to this. So that we've done that piece and it's got a yes, no option. So for this one, I'm just going to say confirmation, yes or no. New step. So with conditions, if the confirming, actually, we'll give this a, okay. So if confirm options equals no, in other words, it was wrong, we will say, sorry about that, let's try again. And what we'll do here is we will, sorry, wrong one. We will re-ask. And I'm going to re-ask everything. Okay, because this goes all the way back to the start. You can see. Okay. And then the last step is great, you're all set up. Now normally because this is at the end, it automatically creates containment, but you need to get into the habit of actually ending the action, in case any extra code gets added, you may, it might not get put in. And there you go. So that's all in 13 steps for this. And we compare that to the template. And the template's probably going to have a couple less because I've added a few steps. Yeah, it's got 14 steps. So I've actually done it in less steps. Sorry. And let's just do a quick check for insanity's sake. Or sanity's sake, sorry. So set up auto pay. Simon.com. I'm going to pick a date. Now for this one, I'm going to pick account 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to pay every month. And I'm going to set it on a specific date. So again, maybe do it for tomorrow. Okay, and then I'm going to say the whole bill. Okay, so we've got a bug here. So the whole bill. So here I forgot to put in the condition. How much pay options is a custom amount. So we just need to restart this. We'll do this quickly. Okay. Option every month. Specific date. No. and the whole bill, and fingers crossed. And here you can see, so fold in all the information, and where it's custom, it's put custom in, and so on. So I'm going to say yes, and it's done. And that's how you do it. Thank you for watching the demo.